Hi, I'm Linkara from atop the fourth wall, and you're watching Megabeatman's True Blue Reviews. But are they green? I don't know. You're watching. Why don't you know the answer? Why don't you know? Who are you?
The recent Worlds Unite crossover featured a lot of characters, many of them making their comic debut. Did it ultimately hurt the story? Should characters like Sonic's team, the Freedom Fighters, be reduced to just the Sega Sonic members? These are questions to be answered another time. What I will say is that the Freedom Fighters in Worlds Unite had more dignity than another crossover featuring Sonic characters meeting characters from another company. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm reviewing Sonic Super Special number 7, the Sonic Image crossover. You have to ask, how does a crossover between something that's family friendly and a company known for publishing material like this come about? Well, it turns out Image co-founder Jim Valentino had two sons that were fans of the Sonic and Knuckles comics. Jim, wanting to do something for his boys, contacted Archie to do a pinup, which appeared in issue 60. He had so much fun doing the pinup that he wanted to pencil an actual Sonic story. So then editor Justin Gabri got Jim and writer Ken Penders together to collaborate on a story, and this is the result. Now some of you might be wondering, wasn't there a more famous comic reviewer that already covered this comic? Yes, but as far as I'm aware, there's no rule against two people reviewing the same material. Besides, when Linkara covered this story, he was more familiar with the Image brand, considering all those young blood comics he reviews. I'm approaching the same comic as a Sonic fan and a fan of the Sonic comics in general. Admittedly, my knowledge of the Image characters will be limited, but hopefully it'll be enough to get through this review. Well, I've delayed the inevitable long enough, so let's just get this over with. We begin with a character named Particle at FBI headquarters being interrogated by two shadowed individuals. She explains that she used a device called the Vibrational Tuner to travel to an alternate universe, which in this case is Mobius, Sonic's world. And we get a flashback. Not too long after she arrives in Mobiletropolis, Sonic and the Freedom Fighters discover her. They of course mistake her for an Overlander, aka an aggressive mutant human. Yeah, at this point in the comics history, the Sonic Adventure adaptation hasn't happened yet, so they haven't met any real humans native to the world at this time. While they discuss what to do with her, Antoine makes this comment that implies some sort of attraction. Okay, 1. She's a human, and you're an anthropomorphic coyote. And 2. You already have a girlfriend, and she's right next to you. Anyway, Particle uses her tuner to knock everyone out. Sonic the Hedgehog! We find out that Particle is looking for a specific power source, and it's located on Angel Island. Okay, technically it's called the Floating Island at this point, but I don't really care, folks. She comes across the Master Emerald with something inside. That something, or someone, is Mammoth Mogul, the Vandal Savage of the Sonic comics. He's in the Emerald because of what happened in Sonic issue 56, which also shows the Master Emerald's creation. But that's for another time. Particle gets caught by Knuckles, guardian of the island, and it's Chaos Emerald? No. It's the Master Emerald. A Chaos Emerald can fit into your hand. This thing is much bigger. That game did not happen yet. Yes, folks, I know that a Chaos Emerald once kept the island afloat, but that's no longer the case. I know it's the writer's fault for making you this way, but Knuckles, you're an idiot.
Shut up!
Before things get confrontational, Particle extends a hand in friendship, but it was just a trick to knock Knuckles out through touch. Okay, I'm not faulting Knuckles here. Particle comments that Knuckles might be a mutant like herself. We'll come back to this line later. Back in the present, Particle uses the old "I need to go to the bathroom" excuse to get close to one of the interrogators and knock him out the same way she knocked out Knuckles. As his partner checks him, Particle knocks her out and escapes. And we learn the names of the investigators are Agents Scolder and Mully. Really? Well, I'm not calling them by those names. So David and Jillian come too, and David believes they have a lead to what happened at a ruined airbase. A business card for electronics repair store. After they arrive, they introduce themselves to the owner, Collins. They ask him about his whereabouts the past weekend. Since Collins replies that he was here, they decide to question his son, Eddie. When they question Eddie about the airbase and show them a picture of this guy, Eddie agrees to tell his story. Flashback time again. Eddie's riding his bike home when he notices a flash in the alleyway. He takes a look to see Sonic, Knuckles, and the Freedom Fighters meeting Spawn. Well, at least he's not a lawnmower this time. No, seriously, this existed. Anyway, Sonic asks Spawn about where they are. Spawn refuses to answer and leaves. Tom McFarlane's creation, ladies and gentlemen. To be fair, since this is supposed to be a more kid-friendly story and Spawn was originally created to be part of an army to wage war against heaven and God, I don't blame him just appearing in a cameo. Eddie approaches them thinking that they're little kids in costume. Yes, this event takes place during Halloween. Convenient. And it's good to know that Eddie's a Sonic fan too. So yeah, they managed to convince him that they are the real deal and they're trying to get the Master Emerald, which they keep calling a Chaos Emerald, back. The situation on Knuckles Island got so bad, he went to the Freedom Fighters for help. Using an old Robotnik vehicle, and Nicole as a tracking device, they traveled the Cosmic Interstate, literal roads between universes, until they home in on a realistic Earth. The team's close to the Master Emerald. Well, at least here they added Master to the Chaos Emerald, so it's technically accurate. And we have these two panels. Moving on, Eddie goes home to suit up and goes out as Shadowhawk. To be fair, Eddie did take the mantle of Shadowhawk after his predecessor died. And fun fact, Jim Valentino was Shadowhawk's creator. So the Freedom Fighters and Shadowhawk are riding around with Nicole still tracking the Emerald. The signal brings them to Grand Central Station. Yes, this takes place in New York. Somehow, they phase through the building to get inside, and we meet two more image characters. First, there's the Dragon, or Savage Dragon, and we have this guy, Omen. More on him later. They saw the Freedom Fighters driving in the train station, and Savage Dragon tries to get them to stop, while shooting at them. Yeah, he's a cop, but that's a bit extreme. Now again, this takes place in New York City. Savage Dragon is a cop from the Chicago PD. His uniform even shows the Chicago PD badge. Now either he's transferred to New York, or he wears his uniform on vacation or something. Anyway, Shadowhawk knows this guy and will try to talk to him while the Freedom Fighters board the train that has the Master Emerald on board. Not long after, the vehicle changes shape in front of the Dragon and Shadowhawk, and I don't know what happened to it afterwards because we don't see it again. Anyway, Omen reappears as Union. This character was actually a Wildstorm character. He appeared in Image Comics while Wildstorm was a sub-imprint of theirs. When DC bought Wildstorm, Union, of course, went with the company. Back to the story. The three put aside their differences and decide to get to the train the Freedom Fighters are on. On said train, the Freedom Fighters close in on the Master Emerald, only for the one behind the operation to be waiting for them. The story doesn't name this guy, but thanks to the internet, I found out what it is. You ready? Dr. Ian Droid. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. It's Dr. Ian Droid. Get it? So Dr. Droid blurts out cryptic things saying that he's dealt with Sonic in the past and will deal with Knuckles in the future. He's interrupted by the arrival of Shadowhawk, Dragon, and Union. Union accidentally hits the Master Emerald, causing a portal to open up and the train and everyone inside to end up in another dimension. And once again, our heroes are unconscious. The Sonic Image crossover, everyone! A number of black SWAT bots arrive, and they serve Dr. Droid. Okay? They relocate to Dr. Droid's base, and it turns out Particle only agreed to stealing the Master Emerald because he has something she wants. However, Dr. Droid refuses to give her what she wants because he still has use for her and her powers. But enough of that, the SWAT bots brought in a cardboard box for Dr. Droid to look at. Particle heads over to the shadowy cameo detention area. One cell has what Particle wants, her sister. Back to Dr. Droid and the box, the occupant inside punches out, and it's the Max. The box, of course, could be his house, as he's usually found in one while on Earth. Yeah, this character shifts between Earth and another dimension called the Outback. Julie is a reference to Julie Winters, someone he's trying to protect. And yes, I'm familiar with the Max cartoon that aired on MTV. Particle and her sister freeze everyone, except for the shadowy cameos of course, and a new character, Velocity, makes an appearance. Velocity actually comes from the group Cyberforce, plus she was published under the Image imprint Top Cow. As her name implies, she's just as speedy as Sonic, so we get the Max using the Master Emerald as a weapon. Well, it's a good thing it didn't break, did it? Dr. Droid has had enough of this. He studied Chaos Energy for years and believes he can control the Master Emerald. And here's his ultimate plan. He's going to use the Emerald to recreate reality in his image. Why does this sound familiar? Knuckles will have none of that and will end this nonsense. Dr. Droid sends the SWAT bots to stop Knuckles. Everyone engages the SWAT bots while Knuckles starts tapping into his hidden powers. There's a brief internal monologue battle between his father and great uncle Dimitri. But ultimately, Knuckles becomes God Mode Echidna and an explosion of green light occurs. The Image characters, along with Particle and a dead-looking Dr. Droid, end up back on their world, the airbase to be exact. The heroes, except for Particle, leave before the authorities show up. Eddie finishes his story to David and Jillian, and the two agents leave. We get a glimpse of Sonic's world, and it appears everyone's lost their memory of the crossover, and they're just minding their own business. The crossover finally ends with Jillian typing up a report, and a final shot of Sonic and Tails under a tree. There seems to be a lot of focus on the characters of Particle and Dr. Droid, and I think I know why. Besides the comic being a Sonic Image crossover, it's a backdoor pilot for a comic series Ken Penders would eventually create for Image called The Lost Ones, which featured Particle and Dr. Droid. From what I could find, and I'm sorry if the information's wrong, the idea behind The Lost Ones was that the survivors of the nuclear bombs in Japan would have their descendants gaining superpowers. Oh boy. Not only does this insult the horrific event that ended World War II in the Pacific, it was trying to be an X-Men ripoff. Thankfully, the comic only lasted one issue before it was cancelled due to low sales. And yes, I'm aware of the live-action Lost Ones trailer. I'm not showing clips from it. The main villain, Dr. Droid, is supposed to be a character from the cancelled series, but he's also familiar with Sonic and Knuckles. From what I've read on this, Dr. Droid was planned to be an alternate universe version of Dr. Robotnik. This could explain why he used SWAT bots and why he's familiar with Sonic and Knuckles. Yet this character was meant for an Image series. I'm starting to get a headache here. To make things more confusing, this line about Knuckles in the future, well, here's what it refers to. Knuckles issue 25 featured Locke, Knuckles' father, having a dream featuring Knuckles fighting this giant Robotnik robot. Two things. One, this is the same robot that was being made back in Sonic Live, another Ken Penders story also reviewed by Linkara. And two, Dr. Droid's supposed to be the pilot. The dream Locke had was caused by powerful forces so that Locke could create the ultimate hero. This led to genetic experiments which resulted in Knuckles getting his Chaos God powers. And this would also explain Particle's line about Knuckles being a mutant. Jeez, the more I read about this, the more I'm glad reality was eventually rewritten by an oopsie. I'm getting tired of this. Let's finish this review quickly. The plot. Getting back the Master Emerald before bad guys can use it. Simple enough. The execution... The Freedom Fighters, for the most part, weren't useful. They track the Emerald, get knocked out repeatedly, and protect Knuckles as he did his Chaos God thing. The Image characters, they just showed up, just like that. The writing's all over the place. I mean, look at the way Particle says, "May I go to the bathroom?" You don't use words like a veil. Though I'll give Nicole a pass because she's a computer. The art? The Image characters are alright, I guess. The Sonic characters? Well, since Jim also penciled the Sonic Underground crossover which I looked at, my thoughts there also apply here. At least it's not Many Hands or Ron Lim. The final score for this story is a 2 out of 10. It would have been a 1, but I gave a mercy point because, as stated in the beginning, Jim's reasoning for drawing Sonic was because he was a father trying to impress his boys, and I respect that. Otherwise, this is a confusing mess that disrespects the Sonic characters and the Image characters. and I'm sure fans of the Image characters weren't happy to see them like this. I would rather read the Sonic Sabrina crossover again than this. This is a crossover that shouldn't have happened at all. And it treats Knuckles as a Godsu at the end. But given the writer, I'm not that surprised. Bottom line,
This comic sucks!
thank you for joining me and suffering through this review. And as always, have a good day and be safe. The truth is out there, alright. The truth is, this comic was made to begin with.